this. So if those of you that know what micturition is, go ahead and tell me. Let's see here, show all. So light might be weird, and I don't know if the microphone is actually connected. I can see I'm getting levels on it, but I can't tell because YouTube seems to not like integrate the, it has to be YouTube. Everything else works fine. I've come to that conclusion. I've gotten the audio issues fixed with my camera. I just figured out how to sync files and things like that based on the audio. So the new camera is not going anywhere. The camera I had is not going anywhere. And I'm still going to use my phone a lot because sometimes it's just simpler. So, but let's see. Tell me how the audio is. I'm going to walk away. So whoever just showed up, I'm going to walk away and we're going to see if, Lady Ginger, tell me if the audio stays constant when I walk away, because that will indicate, because I need to put this away anyway, that will indicate whether the microphone is actually connected. YouTube seems to be, the YouTube app seems to be the problem with what I was having with audio. I thought that there was a wiring issue and things like that. It is not. What happened was the YouTube app, it cut out for a second, but it's good. So like, could you still hear me talking like the whole time, or it just split for a second? Because I'm curious. Because I thought I was having a problem with the connecting wires and things like that. So as I walk away to go out here and walk away, the audio should stay pretty consistent. Now I did walk behind the refrigerator. It split for a second. At any rate, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I had a doctor's, I wasn't going to do this live feed. Wife's car has to go to the shop today. Found out after getting everything set up that the insurance company, well, because I think it cut out because I walked behind the refrigerator. So this is a radio frequency transmitter to the receiver that's connected. And I thought the cord was bad. At any rate, the wife's car has to go to the shop. And they were like, okay, well, the shop was like, well, we can get you the rental car and everything set up. And I was like, okay. And then the insurance company was like, oh, no, we're not authorizing a rental car. I was like, so you're telling me my wife's car is going to be in the shop for what could be a month with two people, two cars, three drivers on varying schedules, and you're saying that we're not going to get a rental car? I looked at it. It's $866 to rent a car in San Diego for 15 days. And it's very hot. That coffee is very hot. The new coffee machine is very hot. Okay, guys, if you're here, please drop a like. All you can do is double tap the screen. So, had some stuff happen. I had some stuff come in. I've got some new stuff coming in. I've got some new Jensen Black. Hello to you too. I got a video I'm going to film. I've got some comparative stuff to show. You guys are going to get a video because I'm going to tell you right now, I think these knives are the dumbest knives on the market. So I'm doing a video about that. I've got several different examples of these expensive and silly utility knife blade carriers and things like that. I've got several examples. I find them to be just ridiculous when you can just get one of these. I've said that for a long time. Monty, Anthony, howdy all you guys. I found that if you want a box cutter, get a box cutter. If you want a utility knife, just get a utility knife. These things are expensive. They really aren't any better because the blades are all the same. And there's some really ridiculously expensive ones out there. That Hawk one, that Hawk Knives one, if you buy a $650 utility, because what I'm saying is you're not buying like expensive blades for it. These are still the blades that you're going to use. These garbage $10 for 100 blades. It's not going to get you anything better. How do I have to do with this? Okay, so guys, I was going to title this Marked Safe from the Wildfires. I'm in San Diego, so it's not that. Oh, huge ass. Oh, be quiet. Find a different live feed. You fuck nut. I'm not even gonna feature the trolls anymore. Like, that's the kind of dude that like invites his wife's boyfriend over to watch TV. Like, hey, the wife's cheating on both of us. Can we watch TV? You fucking cuck. You're at Knife Monkey. So, yeah, I mean, I EDC this. I love this knife. It's probably the best knife. Hey, if you guys are any of my moderators out there, keep an eye on this. I'm just gonna start blocking people. I shouldn't be cursing and swearing. I do like to keep the channel PG, but I had a doctor's appointment at the Naval Medical Center today, so I'm not in the best of moods. So I had to deal with that. So Potato Man, find a different channel. Different channel, different channel. How about now? Holy crap. How about now? Are we good now? We should be good now. Hopefully we're good now. What the fuck? It's the app. It's the app. There's audio. Okay, cool. At any rate, I've been carrying this every day since April when I bought this. This is the Amphibian, the Microtech Amphibian. It is a gorgeous, beautiful knife. It is the best knife I've ever bought. I love this knife. And it's just kind of a big, there's a delay. I don't know what to tell you. If there's an audio delay, I don't know what to tell you. So this thing is great. This is the best knife I've ever purchased. It beats some of my $1,000 knives that I have in my collection. This is up there. You have sound, but now it's in German. I can't fix that. Guys, drop a like. There's 49 of you here. Just double tap the screen. At any rate, this thing is the best knife I have. The Grimsmo Norseman is, this was, I got a discount on this. I got this for just under 300. I think they're 310 now. This thing is the best knife I've ever bought. And like I said, a $300 knife should not exceed what I'm getting in $1,000 knives. And it's not because those knives aren't as good. They're as good. This just beats it on, like, there's just so many things about this knife that just put it up above. This was my 2024 knife of the year. There is dog hair on everything. So I bought this for just about $300. At the same time that I bought the best Spyderco that's on the market, which is the Military 2, and this one is in crew wear. So love both of these knives. This one does not get anywhere near as much pocket time as this, but I decided that so many people told me I needed to try the Espada. Now the Espada, just for size comparison, this is a 9 1/4 inch knife. The Espada is 12. Oh, what is it? I got the box here that has the info on it. So this one is 12 1/4. So this is 12 1/4. This is the large. And I was like, this is insane. This is gonna come and it's gonna be ridiculous. I saw the images and stuff like that. So this is 9 1/4. This is 12 1/4. And I'm like, this is just nuts. But then I got it and I've been carrying this daily with that. unless I'm like the pants I'm wearing right now, the pockets, they're like tactical, like 511s. The pocket on these ones comes down at a weird angle. I can't carry two pockets in that. It's better than my OG Fortis. Zach, it's better than my OG Fortis. It beats any knife I own. So this thing is really good. And I was like, holy crap, I can't believe how good this is at 12 inches. It's really, really nimble. It's easy to use. It's got a really good blade shape. Now, it's not the perfect knife. It's nowhere near what I want from most of the knives I carry. It's not as utilitarian as some of the other knives I have, right? Compared to this, which is really, really comfortable in use and things like that. But it's not too far off from being functional, even though it's that much bigger. So I, on New Year's, got intoxicated. I don't do it very often anymore. And I purchased this. And it came, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So this is 12¼ inches. This is the Espada XL. I've been carrying it, and I have found that I don't know how cold steel does it, but this knife is not that difficult. It's not that difficult to carry this, even though I want to put this in perspective for you guys. Some of you guys already know. I'm 6'3" tall. Today at my doctor's appointment, I weighed 227 pounds, and I wear XXL gloves. This is a sword. And I was getting ready to say, Bladed Ginger, in this grip, it's still comfortable and easy to use. There's a lot of times there's a problem that you get farther away from the tip. It feels, this feels balanced. And that's, I think, where it comes in. There could have been a size in between. Really, though, there couldn't. So this is 12¼ This one, overall length on the Espada XL is 16¾ inches. This is almost 17 inches. It has a 7½ blade. To put that in perspective for you, this, like I said, is 9¼ inches overall. I don't think they make that one anymore. Aluminum backspacer, but here's the thing. This thing is not that heavy. And it's really nimble. Your balance point in this grip is pretty good. Now, I do know Lynn Thompson has said for years that his knives are all based on fighting and being able to use it in a fighting technique. Now, is this something I'm going to carry on a daily basis? No, because to tell you the truth, in this pair of pants that I'm carrying, no, this is AUS 10. In this pair of pants I'm carrying, or that I've got on right now, the pocket is not deep enough. It doesn't go all the way in. If I tip it at an angle, it goes in, but then it sticks out and it looks like I can't carry it near a school. I cannot believe, though, how good, okay, so you say AUS 10, meh. I don't like S35 VN. I have not been a fan of S35 VN for a very long time. I've noticed things that I don't like about it. It's not the steel I want. AUS 10 is pretty good, and the fact is, cold steel for a long time has maximized what you can get out of a steel. AUS 10 has gotten the most that they can get out of steels like AUS 8. So AUS 8 was garbage unless you got it from cold steel. And Cold Steel just nailed it with the heat treat. And guys, if you're here, please drop a like. There's 82 of you here. Sorry, my wife is texting me. Hang on. Well, like I said, Elliot said we might be able to borrow his truck, ... You could just drive my car and I will drive the truck. Elliot Williamson over at Framforge Knife Works might be letting my wife and I borrow a vehicle. Joe H. Yeah, that's a knife. So WAS 10 is not bad. 14C28N is still one of my favorite steels. But as a good all-around steel for a knife like this, I think it's going to be fine. Now, I do need to check, and I haven't checked yet because all I did was the unboxing video, and when I did that, I had not bought the batteries in my calipers died. I did a video where I measured the Espada, the large Espada, and then the batteries in my caliper died. So I got 2 batteries. I went up to Home Depot and got a couple batteries and put in my case for my calipers. So the blade stock thickness on the Espada, and that's what I thought, it's 0.150 is about the average. It's about 0.150, between 0.150 and 152-ish. The Espada XL is actually 0.150. So they are the same blade stock thickness, and you check it in a couple of different places. So 0.150, 0.150, 0.152. So it's pretty, let's zero that again. I don't think that, let's see here. Yeah, 0.150-ish. So same blade stock thickness, which I can see you don't really need. Can you get a handle thickness? Where? Oh, there it is. Can I get you a handle thickness? Yeah, I'll get you a handle thickness. Handle thickness across the back is 0.52, so just about a ½ inch right across the back, which it's not super thick, but the nice thing is this is G10, so the nice thing about this is it's broad enough. One of the problems with knives that are thin like that, if they're broad, they feel better. You got, a broad always feels better, right? So when you go thicker this way, you can go thinner this way, or you can go thicker this way and thinner this way. That's typically how I look at it. I like, does the blade stock thickness make it slice better? No, what makes it slice better is the fact it's ground really well, and it's a nice broad blade. So the other thing, slicing, this does slice very well. Blade shape, it's meant for slicing. It's that slicing, slashing style blade. And this is the large because it's just easier to get it. Well, why mess around with the small one? What makes it slice well is the broader blade allows you more time to transition, which gets you a better behind the edge thickness. For as thick as this knife is and as big as it is, it still slices relatively well. It slices really, really well, right? It's not a slicey knife, like nowhere near the behind the edge thickness on this one, where it's super, super thin behind the edge and it slices really well. And then you have that recurve that allows you to just lay devastating cuts. And this is a much more nimble knife. This, however, is incredibly nimble for a 17-inch knife. And like I said, it has a lot to do with the balance, where the balance point is on this. It is easy to manipulate that knife. And since I had this set aside just because I wanted to show you guys, this is just your typical Blade HQ box. It slices really, really well. What's it for? I mean, to be honest, where Hero Alfredo Miranda, what's it for? I mean, for me, it was just, I got it as a drunk purchase on New Year's because I had this. but it's based on a Navaja, which was a knife that was used, a Spanish knife that was used for a lot of stuff. It's still used in Mexico by, hey, what's up, Rickard? Super chat. Where'd I put my bell? I had my bell out for things like this. If you guys drop super chat or ring the bell. But I don't have one of those dainty, girly bells like some other channels do. I have a cowbell. The troll that was here earlier, this is his mom's necklace. She left it at my house. The guy I kicked out. So they were used by gauchos, you know, the Spanish and Mexican cowboys. So this thing is still pretty functional. I will tell you, growing up on a farm, having a big folding knife like this, a reliable big folding knife like this, is, I don't care if you don't like it or not. Why, is your mom fat too? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is something that growing up on a farm, I could see using for opening feed bags and things like that. This is based off of a Navaja, Dean. So this something like this you could use for a lot of larger tasks. So on a farm, I could see myself using this. The Navaja was carried. It was a Spanish design knife. They still carry them in Mexico, the gauchos and things like that. The cowboys still carry these large knives because they are great for a lot of tasks. Now, they're not great for like your day-to-day. I still carry this knife a lot because this is just something that's more utilitarian. It's got the mama joke. Did I read the super chat? No, I'm sorry, I didn't. Oh, hey there. Okay. Reason being, I didn't even see it, Rickert. Sorry. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? Do you have any time after this live stream for a little chat? No, I don't. I get done with this live feed. I have to go take my wife's car to the shop. And I have another appointment this afternoon. I really, for the next like week or so, I'm slammed. Just send me a DM. Send me a DM on the Gilded server. Great. Bye. Oh, my channel was reported. So at any rate, are you gonna do it in French? I don't speak French anymore. I spoke French in high school when I had to, because I took French in high school, and now I don't. So at any rate, this I could see a purpose for this knife. For me, this is too much. This is too much. This is, and I say that, but I am carrying it to give it a full review. The problem is I can't carry this everywhere. And the other thing too is I have to be careful what pants I carry both of these knives in. They are tearing up the pockets on my jeans. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, jeans are fucking expensive these days. So I just can't, like I said it in, if you guys watch the video, like, and if one of my mods wants to put a link to the video, the unboxing I did on this. Yeah, Bladed Ginger, if you want to put a link to the video I did about this, the unboxing, I do show how it carries in pocket in a pair of jeans. That would go an idea in camp. That's what I was getting ready to say. This is something that would be great as a camp knife. I could see it fitting those purposes, you know? I do have to say, I screwed up jeans are expensive, yet somehow, yeah, they're falling apart. Somebody's yelling outside. What did Dean say? You say it's way too big, but it's very, very surprising how easy you can carry this. And it does not, like, how do I say this? I could easily carry this in my pocket. But then the fact, like I said, me being, I'm not a little guy. I can carry this a lot easier. I am 6'3", 29 or 27 pounds this morning at the doctor's office. This thing is easy to carry. I'm not even joking. Even at a size that is that much bigger than what I typically carry. That knife is asking for trouble. How? This knife's not asking for trouble. This knife is not causing any trouble. This knife was riding in my pocket, and I've been walking around. People are like, oh, you carry that, like, you're going to get arrested. No, I'm not. I carry fixed blade everywhere I go. I've never heard a knife talk. That's true. Pull that out at a snake house, please. I would be more inclined to pull this one out. What I have noticed, though, is I've been carrying this a lot because I want to, can you wave it open? Yes, it waves open. As a matter of fact, it waves the same as this one. Let me show you. This one doesn't sit, I'll get back so maybe you guys can see it better. This may screw up the audio. Let me know if this screws up the audio. So, it waves off the pocket incredibly well for such a big knife, which doesn't surprise me. Cold steel has, did the audio change at all when I relocated the camera? I think there may still be. Yeah, what the fuck? The other thing that you can do with this, I got a year in prison for carrying a knife, 11 years for manslaughter. See, you didn't get a year in prison for carrying a knife. You got a year in prison for having a knife for a purpose. It's like, I doubt if very many people are going to jail for self-defense. At any rate, this is a much more utilitarian knife. I would much easier carry this, but what I have noticed is I've been carrying this a lot because I have to do review videos on knives. That's what this channel's all about. This knife is starting to take the place of other knives that I carry. So now, typically what I would do is I would carry this knife because it's my favorite knife and I love it and I still do carry it. So this is cold steel. This is cold steel Espada. This is the cold steel Espada XL. Carrying this has changed my perspective on this. So 9 1/4, typically no, I do not have a cold steel Spartan. I used to. I typically would carry this, a little bit smaller knife, or a lot of times I would have something more akin to, where'd I put it? Because I haven't been carrying it lately. Something more akin to something this size. This would typically be in my watch pocket. This is the Microtech Amphibian. I would carry this in my watch pocket because a big knife like this and blade shape on this is not as useful as something like this. But what I find myself doing now is this is now my small knife and this is just in my pocket and I'm perfectly fine with it. It makes this knife feel small. And like I said, this is not a small knife. This is a 9 1/4 inch knife. It just kind of changes your perspective on what a useful size knife is. I always thought that this would be too big, even the large, because 12-inch overall folding knife. I never figured it would be that functional, and it absolutely is. Do I hunt? Not anymore. I'm in Southern California. I do not hunt anymore. Hunting is, it's problematic out here. You just really can't do it. I'm checking something. It says there's 200 people here. Please, guys, 200 of you here. Double tap the screen, drop a like on it so we can get more people here. Putting it in perspective, the Espada is crazy. But this is absolutely super comfortable. And it is a very, very good knife, and you can still use it for a lot of things, and I never would have believed it if I had not gotten this. Now, I did not buy this one. It came, I kind of bought it. I used my friend's points on Blade HQ, and I got the knife for free, right? So I got the knife for free. My buddy was like, yeah, use the points. That's why I don't use them anymore. He doesn't buy knives. He doesn't use his points. He's got everything he wants. He knows I have a channel. He goes, yeah, use the points. This one I didn't buy. This one, however, I did get really drunk on New Year's and purchase. And as with the smaller one, I'm amazed at how functional this still is, even at that size. I cut up a bunch of cardboard with this, and the fact that they've given you the same magnetic clasp on that set of beads. The handle dimensions in this grip are exactly the same. Even though this is bigger, that's what makes this so good, is the handle dimensions here being the same. You've got a second grip down here. You can get all the way up down here. Now, if for a fighting knife, I've now got a lot of standoff. If I'm using this for fighting, which I don't foresee me getting in a knife fight outside while I'm walking the dog, but putting this in my pocket and carrying it in an area I live in, knowing I have coyotes and mountain lions, which I saw a mountain lion 3 nights ago while I was driving back from taking my daughter to the trolley station. Do you have any Damascus knives? Okay, I want to bring this up. Somebody made a comment. Damascus, there are no Damascus steel knives. I mean, there are, but they're very, very expensive because true Damascus does not. I don't want any politics. There's a whole thing on here where it says no politics, no religion, be kind to everyone. I don't want that on here. I don't care what anyone's views are on Muslims, Jews, Christians. I don't care because that's not what the fuck we're here to talk about. At any rate, we have mountain lions and coyotes in our neighborhood that walk freely about. I'm on the edge of the woodsy area. What are my pronouns? You ready for my pronouns? We the people. Those are my pronouns. Damascus steel is not actually Damascus steel anymore. A true Damascus knife is made from Wootz steel, which is a crucible steel. The pattern it's in it is a mixture of undissolved carbides that form in the puring, in the, great, find a therapist. Not my channel. It's undissolved carbides and a carbide matrix and things like that that are in the. Stop with the pronoun shit, or you're gonna get taken off the channel. So the Wootz steel that you get is a crucible steel, and then it comes out in billets, and then it's hammered and forged out into length, right? Wootz, WOOTZ steel. Dog hair in my, I got dog hair in my mouth. My dog is shedding horribly. So when you hammer that out, then you have this pattern that shows up in the steel. And it's, like I said, it's in a crucible and then it's an ingot. What you see today that they call Damascus steel is not Damascus steel. It's pattern welded steel. And everybody's like, no, Jason, it is not. That's pattern welded. Damascus is not layering 2 steels. That's the misnomer. And people go, oh, that's not true. That's pattern welded. It duplicates the Damascus style. And so, no, it's not. That is not. That is pattern welded. That is forge welded, pattern welded steel. It duplicates the look that you get. That is not what Damascus steel was. The Damascus steel from the Damascus area was a Wootz steel that was poured into ingots. Jason, I was a knife maker. I studied this. Thanks for being silly and not knowing what you're talking about. Okay. So it duplicates and replicates the, replicates. It has the look of the original Wootz style steel, which was the carbides forming in a pattern throughout the steel where it would cool. pattern welded, or even the powdered metallurgy. I was a knife maker. I had to study all this stuff. Here's the thing. You're talking, but you don't know what you're talking about. That's the problem. Lots of people talk, but a lot of people talk about stuff they don't know about. I was a knife maker for years. I studied this. I studied into the different metallurgies. I talked with the owner of Damasteel, who makes a pattern style powdered Damascus. And we talked about the origins and how they tried to duplicate what was seen in Wootz style steels. But it's still not Wootz steel. I'm not trying to be funny. Just my wife think about my knife obsession. It pays our bills. So, you know, this channel pays our bills. So figure what she thinks about it. Wootz steel is not still a mystery. There are people that have replicated the process. It is very difficult. It takes a lot of work and how it's done. There's been a couple people that have duplicated it. It is a process that they have. It's a process that they have went back and figured it out. And so when people talk about pattern, and I have somewhere in this big box of fixed blade knives, I have a stainless, what they call the stainless steel Damascus. Now, Damascus has become a term that incorporates too far along, I think, of what actually was a really cool process. I got to dig through this big box of fixed blade knives to find what I'm talking about. And people have done it because the appearance of it is just so attractive. You know what? I think it got put in a storage room in another box of knives. I don't see it in there. So what people have done is tried to go back and find something that looks like that. Hand-hammered, folded Damascus, pattern welded steel, like Alabama Damascus and things like that, are an inferior steel. And people are like, have you ever tried Gerber Quadrant? Do I like cleaver style knives? I really don't like cleaver style knives. I do and I don't. I do and I don't. Some of them are okay. I like this one. I don't like the big over-the-top cleavers. Damascus has become a term a lot like Kleenex, right? So now when you think of Kleenex, you just think of tissues. It's a name that has been associated with a brand. And it just becomes like ubiquitous, and then it just becomes associated with that thing. And it's not necessarily true. And until I started studying it and learning about it, when I decided I wanted to become a knife maker, I started looking into Velcro, exactly, Q-tips, things like that. It's one of those things that just became a blanket term for something. So everybody started using it, but it's not true. And then it's like Damasteel. Now Damasteel has reached a point where, let me see, I don't have it here anymore. I do have another cold steel knife, because we're going to talk about something else about cold steel knives. Damasteel is a brand that makes powdered Damascus look powdered steel, and they on. Tell Nico Urbano, sorry, I'm in a live feed.
Okay, sending.
Oh, sorry about that. The Hobbit called me. Damasteel is a stainless steel patterned Damascus style steel that a lot of people use. A lot of us love it. It's really attractive. Did I put it in here? I really want to show you guys what I'm talking about. I really need to look for it. Hang on. But at any rate, what they do is they take two steels that are super similar, and then they make these powdered metals and they put them together, but in layers. And what happens is you get a steel that is really similar in composition, but one of them has a lower, there it is, it's the very, very bottom under my dad's knife. You get something that looks like this. So what you get is something that looks like this, where you have, ooh, that screen, that camera is dirty. That camera lens is dirty. I don't like MagnaCut, and it's not that it's not a good steel. I don't like MagnaCut for a different reason. I don't like MagnaCut because of the edge it takes. So this is what is called stainless steel Damascus, right? And it's two very, very similar stainless steels, but one of them has a little bit higher carbon content, and it gets mixed. It gets deposited on a plate with a machine that goes out and it sprays down the different layers of the two dissimilar steels. So one nozzle comes through, then another, and it's this powder going in layers, and then they roll it through a roller, a hot roller, to solidify it together, and then when you heat treat it, you austenize it, and then martinize it, and then temper it, right? And so when you dip it in acid, it will etch one steel and leave the other one really shiny. So this is basically one piece of steel, but it's got different constituent steels in it that will allow it to etch so that you see the darker areas and the lighter areas. With hand-forged Damascus, it's or hand-forged pattern welded steel or Damascus, it just comes from them putting two types of metal together and then folding it. And the reason I say that that steel is so inadequate and it's not a good steel is because those steels typically have very different hardening points. This steel, the hardening point and the hardness of this is going to be the same all the way across the steel, regardless, because the only difference in the constituent elements is a tiny bit more carbon that allows the acid to etch the steel. So you have less chromium. And so it's all the same hardness because it is a monolithic piece of steel. And I'm trying to get back to it, Jason. I was saying, I'll explain that. So when you hand forge those steels, you've got some steel that doesn't harden at the same temperature. You got some steel that is really softer than others, and they're all folded together. Plus they're welded together, even though it's forge welding. There's a good chance you can have lamination points and failures and stuff that, if you don't believe me, watch Forged in Fire. How many of those knives did you see fail? Forged knives are never going to be as good as something that is kiln heated, treated, and all that stuff. At any rate, the pattern in true Damascus steel comes from the elements being put together and the carbides kind of conglomerate in different areas and then move around. And so they don't all get distributed evenly like what you get in modern steel, which you want everything to be evenly distributed. You're not going to get that in what was the original. I have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode. I'm gonna wind up getting another phone call. Sorry about that. I had to put my phone in Do Not Disturb. So when that happens with that old school crucible style of those elements being in a crucible as a liquid, and the carbides will not all distribute evenly and they don't alloy evenly, you can still get a really good steel. Wootz steel was the super steel of its era. But when it hardens, that pattern is kind of locked in, right? And so that's what you get. And people tried to duplicate that because over time, those higher carbide areas are going to kind of rust a little bit more than the places that have less of the carbide and things like that. And so you start to see the pattern emerge. And then everybody's like, oh, well, then what about Japanese swords? Well, I took Japanese swordsmanship and I studied how Japanese swords are, how they are made. Japanese swords are made from a substandard ore. They're made from black sands. They're made from the steel bearing sands, the Fe, the iron bearing sands on a beach. And so they take those black sands and then they melt them down to a bloom, which is just a big chunk of different steels. Some of them have higher carbide levels. The problem with that, it's a very substandard steel. And so it had a lot of impurities in it. And to eliminate the impurities, they will fold the steel multiple times, bring the impurities to the surface, and distribute the carbon more smoothly throughout the alloy. They would then sand it and split it because they would take parts that were harder, that had harder steel, and then put that in like a canoe and fold it together again and distribute that carbon throughout that. And then they would then take that and then it would get polished and you would see the pattern emerge from all the folding. It wasn't done as an aesthetic thing. It was done as a necessity. And then they would differentially harden. So the very front edge of the steel was allowed to harden very, very quickly and become hard. And then the spine of the blade would be covered with clay so it would harden slower. So you had a softer spine, very hard edge to prevent, shit, I put them away. I have my actual Japanese swords. I took Japanese swordsmanship for 13 years. So that's how it works. That's just what it is. So people have tried for years to duplicate the look of some of these steels. Yeah, so you have an impact resistant spine and then a very, very hard, sharp edge. And so it was done in a sanmai fashion. So you had the outer jacket steel, which was the cheaper steel. Then you had the harder steel, the high quality steel. You didn't need as much of it. And then you would fold it all together to distribute the carbon evenly throughout the entire billet. And then you would then take that billet and deferentially harden it. So the hard edge, softer spine, your whole blade wouldn't break. That's the problem with a mono heat treat on anything like a sword is the harder edge and a harder spine, the blade's going to break. A softer spine, like softer heat treat on it, is going to allow that to... I'm going to go grab one. I'm going to go grab one. Hang on just a second. I grabbed the one I had made. So I had this sword made. This is not a traditional Japanese sword in the respect of it being like, this was not folded, it's not sanmai, it was mono steel construction, but it was differentially heat treated. So that line you see on that is the difference between, that's the area that is hard versus the area that is soft. So the rest of that is very soft. But you have that incredibly hard edge that is super, super sharp for cutting and slashing. And you can see that goes all the way up. It's called a hamon. There you go. That is the differential heat treat line across that. They accomplished that by, this is a modern production one, a modern made one, but it's rayskin. That's a rayskin handle with silk wrap. So I had this made specifically for Japanese swordsmanship, for tamashigiri, which is the cutting. So I took, I did not take iedo, I took kenjutsu, which is the actual live. What is a sword like that worth? I think I paid $1,200 to have it made. But they are a very effective cutting tool. And this is not a wall hanger. This is a actual made for cutting traditional Japanese style sword. It's made for my size. That's why I had to have it made, because I'm big enough that the handles had to be made in a certain size and the blade length had to be a certain length for me to accurately use that. So let's put this away. I'm just going to lay this over here for right now. It needs cleaned now anyway. The problem with that is still high carbon steel. It has to be cleaned and oiled every time. Every time it comes out of that, it has to be cleaned and oiled. So, yeah, that's... What do I use the sword for? I took Japanese swordsmanship for 13 years. I lived in Japan for 13 years, took Japanese... Yeah, fingerprints will stay on it. Michael Snoddy! What's up, Snody? That's a lead opener. Yeah, so that high carbon steel will rust. So it's I took Japanese swordsmanship for, I was there for 13 years. I'd say, like, with deployments and everything, I probably took Japanese swordsmanship for like 10 years total out of the 13 years. And I mean, like, on a multiple day a week basis. I lived in Japan for 13 years. I was stationed there. I was in the Navy. I was in the military. I was stationed there. Back to cold steel knives. So Cold Steel Knives has been doing, Kevin, I said it twice. I took Japanese swordsmanship. I used that in class. I had that sword made for me to use in class. I had 2 swords made that were the right size. This thing is the large, and for me, this is a very, very good sized knife. This is a really good size knife, and Cold Steel for years has done a very good job of making their knives not just useful. Do I have any wakizashis? No, I have a tanto. So I went to a swordsmanship school where you did not use a wakizashi. We didn't use the 2-hand method. It was the double hand sword, and then you had a belt tanto, like almost like a dagger, like a secondary dagger. You used the first sword. We didn't study that. We only used the primary sword for cutting. We didn't use a wakizashi, which is the shorter. The tanto, we used about an 8-inch tanto. Exactly, like a kiridashi style. Bingo. And that's what I would have had. So the Musashi style was 2 swords. So the Musashi style was either 2 full-size katanas, or a katana, or an O katana and a katana, or a katana and a wakizashi. So an O katana is the big sword, which is bigger than a regular size katana, then the katana, then the wakizashi, then a tanto. So this thing, incredibly good. And like I said, the whole thing with Cold Steel's knives is they have always, regardless of what people talk about them, like people are like, oh, they're gimmicky, they're over the top marketing, but they always backed up their stuff by proving it. And they came up with the Triad lock, the best lock on the market. It's insane how good this lock is. It makes this almost a fixed blade. Like, this is, when you open a knife with a Triad lock, and I don't care what anyone says about, oh, the new Shark lock and this, there is no other knife that is as strong as this knife, as a Triad lock. There is no other one anywhere that is going to be as strong as this. With the exception of a few knives that have the removable pin, maybe close, but then their lock mechanism is not quite the same. The way this lock works, how much material drops down in, and the fact that the extra pin, it's as close as you're going to get to a fixed blade without a fixed blade. That's why I would say, like, I would absolutely trust putting this in my pack as a camp knife to do a lot of things. And I'll show you what I'm about to say here. To do a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that you can't do with a small knife. So you have things like this. This is the Grizzly. Right? What are you doing, dog? So this is a great knife. But the thing is, this is heavy. Right? This is heavy and it takes up a lot of space. This knife weighs half of what this weighs. And I know that because I weighed it. This knife weighs half of what this weighs. This knife, half of this. I can do almost as many things, maybe more, with that knife. Now, you do have a bit more blade on this. That's the nice thing about a fixed blade. Blade to handle ratio. I can do pretty much the same things with this knife that I can do with this knife, and I can throw this in my pack and use it the same way I would use this without taking up as much space or have as much weight. Because this thing is heavy. Blade stock thickness on this is insane. Blade stock thickness on this one is... 0 that. Blade stock thickness on this Work Tough Knives Grizzly is 0.23 at the spine, 0.23 inches at the spine. For those of you that do Freedom units, 0.24. For those of you that don't do Freedom units, that is 6.45 millimeters thickness on this. It makes it a lot heavier. It takes up a lot more space. It's not going to carry in your pack as easily when you could easily put something this size, which is more along the lines of the Spartan, which is what I carried as a camp knife, or this, which is the 16 3/4 inch monster here. Absolutely reliable. That cold steel triad lock allows, that pin allows a lot more force to be distributed across the lock and allow it to be a lot stronger than any other lock mechanism on any other knife. Right? It's insane how good these are. What do you think of CRKT knives? I hate CRKT knives. Their knives used to be good. Now they're trash. Their knives used to be good. They used to be trash. But it's not just the triad lock that is so good on cold steel knives. This knife has a liner lock, and this has got to be the strongest liner lock I had ever seen until some companies started changing how they do their liner locks. Liner locks used to be, in my opinion, were crap. I didn't like them. I didn't find them to be that strong. They were a little bit substandard. They had problems. Cold Steel made one of the best liner locks ever. And Cold Steel is still a good company. It is. I have several of their knives post GSM buyout. Matter of fact, oh dear. Oh, there it is. Matter of fact, I have two that I purchased post GSM buyout, and they're amazing. I have the Taipan. I bought an extra sheath for it. And I have this one, which is the OSS post GSM buyout. I don't see any quality issues between the knives pre-GSM and post-GSM. As a matter of fact, I was talking with somebody that knows in depth on this, that these knives are made in the same place in Taiwan that they were being made when Cold Steel was still owned by Lynn Thompson. Same factory, same makers, all those things. The only issue I've had with any of the post-GSM knives, this knife came dull. It was not very sharp. This was not that much sharp. This was not as sharp as some of my other Cold Steels came. And I was like, oh, the GSM knives are just not coming sharp and things like that. And I'm not seeing it. Maybe other brands from GSM. Here's the thing. What I understand, GSM buys companies and they don't change anything that the company was doing. Hang on a second. They don't change production plant. They don't change any of those things. GSM just buys the brand and allows it to continue as it was being run. So if you're having problems with knives that are owned now by GSM, I would say those problems probably existed before. Both of these knives post GSM came ridiculous sharp. This is still factory edge. This was the edge that this came with. That's basically phone book paper. Right? I don't like CRKT knives. Their knives used to be good. I had a couple of them. And they were, guys, I got to put my reading glasses on. It's making my head hurt. What is this? Cold Steel brand is still mildly affordable still. Yeah, I mean, this knife comes in two formats. You can get, that's the other thing Cold Steel has done for years. This comes in this format, or it comes in the over-the-top S35 VN with the micarta handles and the polished aluminum bolsters and all that. I don't like that. That's not something I would carry. It's going to get scratched up and weird. This was the perfect knife. This was forget how much these are. They're not that crazy expensive. Cold steel has maintained their quality across the years. And it hasn't been, there's been some variants and things like that, you know, across the board that there's been some changes, but it's the, how do I say this? Nothing's changed really. You're going to have cold steel, screwed up edges from time to time, bad placement of sharpening choils. Every once in a while, you're going to misgrind that you're going to have to take out after sharpening. You may get some misalignment. This knife did come off center, and after I did the disassembly and reassembly, I moved some things around. I think it's because it had that, if you watched the video where I took this apart and polished the parts in to make it a little bit smoother, it had 2 Teflon washers or nylon washers in it, and I only needed 1, and I took one of them back out, and it centered the blade. So you're always going to have things like that, but these aren't that super expensive of a knife. And cold steel still nailing the heat treat on everything. So you're able to use a steel that might be, no, I think it was more than that for these. For the XL, I think it was more than 179. No, you know what? You're right. For the large, I think this was 17. Hell, I don't know. I can check. Hang on. It's not that hard. I have the wealth of human knowledge at my fingertips. It's pretty easy to look at the old steel Espada. Well, that didn't work. So the cold steel Espada, we're going to look at it on where I got it, which was Blade HQ. So Blade HQ, the Espada large section, the one that I bought, the XL, is currently $159. This is $159, and the large is $129. So this was under $200. Both of them were under $200. I paid less for these 2 knives combined than I paid for a lot of my other knives. I paid less for these 2 combined than what is currently in my pocket. Why didn't I memorize it before the live? I didn't know I was going to talk about the price. I usually don't talk about the price of knives unless I'm talking about Benchmade, which, by the way, did you guys see that Benchmade raised their prices again? That butterfly tax has become something that no one wants to pay. And their knives are fucking horrible. Like, if you want to talk about a company that is taking everything and giving nothing back, it's fucking Benchmade. And it's because they have their fans and they know they can charge that much. Benchmade knives are horrible. I own 1 Benchmade and I didn't even buy it. The MSI or the Amphibian, which do you think is better? The Amphibian is the best knife I have ever owned. This was my 2024 knife of the year. This is absolutely an incredible knife. It's way under what I would have paid for something comparable from Benchmade with materials and all that. It has the better version of the access lock on it, the ram lock. It's amazing. I liked the MSI, but I liked the idea of the MSI. I liked the price point of the MSI. I just didn't like the knife overall, but there was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't a knife that I really picked up and was like, yeah, this is a knife I'd buy. I had a guy offer to let me buy it. He told me I could look at it. I didn't even do a video about it. Now, the stitch, Microtech stitch with the ram lock, it's amazing. This is probably this is hands down the best knife I've ever purchased, best production knife I've ever purchased. I have other knives that are in different categories. This thing is up there on the same level. I have some mid-techs, I have some full customs. This hits in that same category. I don't like any of the Benchmades. You know why? I have a Benchmade 940. This thing is wobbly as shit, and if I turn that a hair, it's too stiff to use the action on. It's too thick behind the edge. It's too narrow in hand. It is uncomfortable to cut with. If you have to do some big cutting, it's going to be difficult to do anything that you want with this knife. There's other options out there that are way better than this. This is a way better knife. As a matter of fact, it's probably the best all-around EDC knife out there. You guys probably heard me say it in a bunch of videos. Spyderco PM2, the best everyday carry across the board. It's not my favorite knife. It never will be. It is the best knife across the board, period. There is no PM3. There's a Para 3. So if you look at the naming structure, this is the PM2, this is the military 2, and then there's a Para 3. We talked about that before. I made the same mistake a bunch of times. It's a smaller version of this, but they didn't go with that naming structure. So I guess this is the military, and then there was a paramilitary, and then there was a Para 3. And then this being the one that was done with the compression lock instead of the liner lock or frame. It was liner lock, I believe. This became the military 2. You had the original paramilitary, which was a back lock or a liner lock. I can't remember which. And then they came out with the compression locks. So there's the second version, and then there's the the Para 3. So this is the best. This is the best Spyderco that they make. The military 2, 9 1/4 inches, the best knife that Spyderco makes. It's not the best EDC. Reasons. I've done a whole video on why this is the best EDC knife out. It has a lot to do with blade to handle ratio, feel in hand, access to, like, removal from the tip to the pivot is just about perfect, overall blade shape and things like that, and then just the ease of carry. The military is a good bit bigger. I personally like this, but I'm also not a normal-sized human being. I'm a relatively large individual. And then my favorite Spyderco isn't any of those. It's this. It's the police. What do I know about M-Tech knives? I know that they are complete trash. If you absolutely have to have a knife for a day, that's a knife you're okay with. Like, I need a knife for a day, and then you throw it away. Like, when you leave, like, ah, crap, I forgot my knife, and then whatever you did for that day, you yeet it over your fucking shoulder into a lake, perfectly fine. That's a perfect purchase for an M-Tech that you found at a grocery store or gas station or wherever the fuck you bought it. Like, oh crap, I don't have a knife, I need one for today. But other than that, M-Techs are trash. Affordable though? Yeah. But unfortunately, they're not going to last. There's a difference. Okay, let's talk about cheap versus budget. I've done this before. This is a budget knife. These are about $55 to $65, right? They're under $100. What do I have? This is a budget knife. These are about $55. This is a nice slip joint Barlow from Rosecraft Blades. These are affordable budget knives. Now, let me see. I have an M-Tech somewhere. Someone sent me an M-Tech as a gift. It's still here somewhere. It's right here. The only reason this is here is because it was a gift. This is a cheap knife, and it is uneven ground. It won't hold an edge. It's not sharp. I only ever used it once. It's paint. The internals on this are going to fall apart. Big difference between a cheap knife that is spray painted and looks like an Adidas. Tell me I'm wrong. Looks like my Adidas slide that I wear out here in the studio. This is garbage. The only reason that that knife has never been thrown in the trash is one of the subscribers sent it to me as a gift. They're horrible. They're trash. I literally would never buy one. I wouldn't buy one for someone. I wouldn't give one to someone. This is a $55 knife that you're going to own for years. This is a $10 knife that you're going to have to replace multiple times. And when you buy something really cheap like that, and you have to replace it, even if it's every once in a while, you easily reach the same price point as something like this. It's better to buy a quality product and have it for a long time, something that's going to hold an edge that you can resharpen, that's reliable, like this Iron Fly Knives YOLO, something that will actually hold and take a good edge. How do I like crew wear? Love crew wear. A Spyderco Military 2s and crew wear. Why don't they make the Prodigy anymore? Don't know. I don't think I ever saw one. I've had a Kershaw Link 1776 in my posse. If you get an old Kershaw, or I mean, some of the older Kershaws, they're not bad. I don't like Kershaw knives. I find them to be cheap. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I threw it over here somewhere because I was mad at it. I bought this with my own money. There we go. This is the Strata XL. This is possibly the worst knife I've ever purchased with my own money. It is trash. You hear that? That's this part moving. It's garbage. Kershaw is, at this point, synonymous. Two words that mean the same thing. Synonymous. I love cinnamon. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They've become synonymous with just cookie cutter garbage knives. The Leek, the Chive, sorry, my nose is running. I got bad allergies. They're just not good. Never liked Kershaws. I find them to be cheap. I always have. I had a Ken Onion Blur, and it was an okay knife, but it still was crappy. ZT, there you go. Thank you, Bladed Ginger. ZT is the same company. ZT and Kershaw are the same company. They're owned by Kai of America, and if you don't know Kai of America, they are a division of Kai Japan, and if you go to Japan, pretty much anything that's made out of steel is made by a company called Kai. K-Bar is overrated. K-Bar is overrated. They have some problems. My big problem with K-Bar is I think they run their steel too hard. I've seen a lot of people break a K-Bar, the military fighting knife, the original like USN and USMC issue ones. I've seen a lot of those break. And it's not, everybody's like, oh, it's because of this shitty little tang. I got a lot of rat tail or hidden tang knives that are just pin construction or an end cap. And I've never broken one. But I've seen a lot of K-bars break. And people are like, oh, it's because of the little tang, that bullshit. I was like, nah, I've got several knives that are really well-made knives with a hidden or rat tail tang. A lot of it, I think, has to do with how hard they run the steel. I've sharpened several K-bars. I own several K-bars. I've had 2 of them issued. I've got one of my dad's. My issue ones are put away. Tac Force is trash. Tac Force is up there with M-Tech is like Tac Force's high-end line. Ugh, it's trash. Sharpening a K-bar, you feel how hard it is on the stone. And you can feel that it like wants to skip on the stone, and it squeaks on stones. And you're like, wow, that's harder than that steel should be. And what I think is it's hard to the point to try and get you good edge retention that it becomes brittle. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the K-bars to break. I think if they just ran it down a couple steps on the Rockwell, they get more toughness. Or temper the blades in a fashion where the tang, maybe from here from about here back is not as hardened. You would see less, you would see a lot less issues with K-bars breaking. But that requires extra work. I don't know, I don't watch, bro, just because I have a Steelers hat, I have not watched a football game in probably 10 years. Nah, not that long. When did they start kneeling? That's when I really stopped watching it. I don't have time for any of that. I don't watch TV. I don't watch news. We haven't had cable since my kid was like 6. So it's been at least 10 years since I had cable. When they started kneeling at the national anthem, that's when I stopped watching. But I haven't had... Honey Badger, what's your thoughts? Haven't got to see one. Do I know kukri? No, not personally. I don't know him. Who's that? Yes, I know what a kukri is. But a budget knife, a good budget knife is always going to do better. Even if you're paying, like I said, oh, but I only paid $10 for my MTech. You're going to have to buy 10 of these to get the longevity out of it that you would get out of this. This 14C28N G10 button lock, beautifully done knife. Vosteed, another great company that is offering really good budget knives. I mean, good budget knives. As a matter of fact, I have an affiliate link with Vosteed. If there's an affiliate link down below in any of my videos, those are brands you know that I trust. And I would not put an affiliate link in the description of a video unless it was something that you see there's no Benchmade, there's no Hinderer, none of that. And I got news for you. That's a couple brands that you will never see on this channel for a couple reasons. Kubi is good. Kubi is good too. I think I have an affiliate link with Kubi. I probably am going to have an affiliate link with Opinel. These are cheap and good. If you don't mind a knife that you throw in pocket without a pocket clip. And the thing about these, if you break one of these or lose one of these are about $10. They've been around forever. Little ring lock on this, so it is a locking knife. They're made in France. It locks shut and open. It's got a little spot on it. These things are amazing. You know what? I've had enough of you. Hey, Lincoln. Bye. I'm just done with the fucking stupid trolls. Go hang out with your wife's boyfriend. These are great. They're nice and thin. They're sweet for the money. You can't be. ADCRV is, we're going to talk about that in a second. I have a knife that just came in ADCRV. I haven't carried it for a few days because places I was going, I couldn't have a fixed blade on me. This is an ADCRV2. ADCRV2 is a good steel. This is this is a great steel for certain things. It's really impact resistant. It's not real rust resistant. It does not have the edge retention of some steels. Depending on heat treat, this seems to be holding up pretty well. This is the Night Guard 2 by TKL Knives. ADCRV2 is a very good steel for certain applications. For certain applications, it's, what is MagnaCut? Okay, so MagnaCut is great, and I don't think that the application for knives is what I want. I find that the grain structure is too fine. And with the grain structure being so fine, it doesn't take the toothy edge I want at a higher grit. A higher grit is going to allow your edge to last longer because there's less friction, because the surface finish is softer and smoother. And so what you get is it drags and it tears your edge off a little bit more, right? And so when you can bring it up to a high polish but still have coarse, rough carbides at the front, you get a steel that cuts really well, even at a higher grit where you have a smoother edge that's going to last a little bit longer. MagnaCut, I think, would be perfect for people that want a really fine edge. It'd be great for straight razors. It'd be great for woodworking tools where that super fine grain structure is going to allow you to take it to super high grit and have a smooth cut with less sanding after. So I like MagnaCut. I like its properties. For me, MagnaCut, though, I have to sharpen it at a lower grit than I typically would, which isn't problematic. I have a knife here that I recently just sharpened at a lower grit because I wanted it to have a very toothy edge. Yeah. So this has a very toothy edge on it because of what I want to do with this. So with the carbides and then the 400 grit edge that's on this, this is just, it's really aggressive, and that's what I want in this knife because I use this for specific purposes. I cut fabric and things like this that I want a very toothy edge that I don't necessarily need a very fine edge on. So this is about a 400 grit on D2. So D2 is already aggressive, and it's allowing, yeah, well, that's because, okay, so S90V has carbides that are really irregular and not super fine. So they're large. On the microscopic scale, they're large. They're larger than what you see in MagnaCut. They're still it's still a super fine edge, but it's more aggressive because the carbides are bigger and they're irregular. When you start getting those super fine grain structure, super fine distributed carbides, yes, it's still very sharp and yes, it will cut, but there's certain things like if you're cutting rope or line where you want something that has that bite, you don't get it. It feels slick. So therefore, like MagnaCut, I have to keep it under 1,000 grit, probably closer to 600. S35VN is the same way. However, this is a 5,000 grit edge. This is a 5,000 grit edge, and it wants to take your fingerprints off. It's still aggressive. Like you can hear it be, if I get the paper. Like it's still aggressive, but it's a finer edge. 14C28N, big, irregular, odd-shaped carbides. The good thing about MagnaCut, though, that it has going for it is it's really resilient. It's really prone and not prone to rusting, so it's corrosion resistant. It's got really good edge retention. And so for me, if I had a knife in MagnaCut, which some of the knives I've had that came in MagnaCut, I really did like. When I would go back and resharpen them, I would have to stay closer to a lower grit and then maybe a quick pass on a fine ceramic to take a little bit of that coarseness off of the bevel, but not change the edge. And so I find that to be something that while I might not like the edge it takes all the time, because I do have knives in S35VN, I have a bunch of knives in S35VN, I just wish that I could get something that met all the wickets on that. But you can't. When you get one thing, you have to give something else up. So if you want a super fine, consistent grain structure, then you're going to have to sharpen at a lower grit. If you want like 20 CV, if you want 20 CV at something that is super hard, super resilient, like when I would do custom knives in 20 CV at 64-ish Rockwell, 65-ish Rockwell, you're giving up a little bit. You're giving up a little bit of another property. 20 CV at production heat treat, under 62-ish, really rust resistant. But when you take it up to 64, what you've done is you've taken a lot of that chromium and you've combined it, you've made more carbides, you've made a stronger edge or a stronger material by combining the carbon and the chromium. Now you have less chromium at the surface to form chromium oxide. That is what does the rust resistant. So when I would do custom knives in 20 CV, people are like, that's not 20 CV, it rusted. And I'm like, I'm also doing a custom heat treat on 20 CV to get the maximum out of it. So when you prioritize one property, something else has to give. You can't get all of it in one. There's no one specific answer. Winston Ham, I like CPM M4. I do too. I've only ever gotten to handle a few knives in it, and I've thought to myself, I really like that steel. I like how it sharpens. I like how it holds an edge. I like the edge it takes. It's a very, very good steel. The good old 440C, the 440HC from Buck. One of the sharpest knives I own is my Buck 119 special that one of the subscribers sent me as a gift. It is ridiculous, the edge it takes. But Buck, a lot like cold steel knives, does a heat treat that's what I was talking about, 14C28N. That's exactly the steel I was referring to, 14C28N. It's what I was referring to on this. For 14C28N at 5,000 grit, still aggressive AF. Yeah, Bose heat treat. So they use the same Bose heat treat formulas. My Buck 119 Specials right here. It's one of my favorite knives. It's iconic. It reminds me of something my father had. He had one, and this was the only knife of my father's that I was not allowed to touch. I was not allowed to mess with his Buck 119. It was a gift from his father when he was in high school. It was in all of the hunting stuff that was my father's. My father, I loved my father's father. My father loved his father. But my father's father was not the best example for a father. My father tried as best he could. He didn't have a real good example on what a good father was. My grandfather was a long haul truck driver who was never home. He kind of didn't treat the kids like you would expect. And my dad tried to be better at it, and he made me promise that I would try to be better at it. And I think I have successfully broken that cycle of shitty fatherhood in our family. My father was not a bad father, but he would be the first one to tell you he didn't have a good example. But the things he did get from his father were very special. His 119 Special, I was not allowed to touch. It was the only thing in our butcher block or our hunting kit, in the butcher's box or the hunting kit, butcher kit, like it was the only knife I was not allowed to take out if I went hunting. I was not allowed to touch his Buck 119 Special. It was a gift from his father. It was one of the few gifts he ever got, and therefore, this reminds me of my father. So this has stayed. But what I was saying is, this is an incredible knife. It's 440. It's 440 HC. This is incredible. How it holds an edge, and the edge it takes is ridiculous. Hollow grind. It is an iconic knife, and people that shit on Buck, I do know a lot of Buck knives aren't great. This is not one of them. The Buck 110, not one of them. They do have knives in their stable that are incredible. Still American made. 440 HC, that's what I was saying. 440 HC, aluminum. This is that resin. I can't remember the name of the resin that they use. It's a special resin that they've used. This isn't my father's. This is mine. I don't have my father's. My mother has my father's. This is one that I received 2-3 years ago as a gift. So, 440 HC. Pretty sure. I don't remember. I don't remember. It's 440, 420. It's not even close to 420. It's only noon here. Is that the problem? Is it 420 where you're at? Is that why you got that comment? I don't know. I'm just picking. So, guys, I don't know how much longer I'm going to run this. A lot of you guys here. What do you guys want to talk? Oh, stupid knives. You guys want to see a stupid knives? Oh, good. Good for you. Maybe you just don't have a good knife. Maybe you don't have a good point of reference as to what a good knife is. I don't know. I personally find the Buck 119 Special to be amazing. There's a reason it's been around for 80 years. 420 HC. 420, 440, who cares? I'm here for stupid knives. Okay, yeah. But this wasn't stupid, though. Winston Ham case knives are probably the worst American-made knives you're ever going to find. They are horrible. This isn't a stupid knife. It's just, I'm on the fence. Like the longer I have this, had it for about a week, has been, when did I get this? I think it's been a week. Tuesday will be a week. I was going to do this on a live feed. So it would have either been Monday or Tuesday this was supposed to show up. It was Tuesday. It was supposed to be here last Tuesday, and then it got delayed and I didn't get it till that night. It was supposed to be in the morning, and it said it was arriving late. It showed up at late in the evening. I did film the unboxing when I got it. Like, my wife was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm setting the studio back up to film. Just makes you want to giggle. I cannot get over how much I do like this, though. Your most beloved leather sheath. Show us I'm into leatherwork. That's easy. This was done by Michael Spangers at Spirit of the Bear. This is a full custom leather sheath that he made for me as a gift. I was going to pay for it. He sent it to me for free because I've sent a lot of business his way, and rightfully so, he didn't need to give me a free sheath. He gets business from me recommending it to people because it's amazing. This thing is a full-made leather sheath for a very cheap knife. It's cold steel OSS. He made this sheath for me. It's got a spot for a small India stone. It's riveted, hand-stitched. Beautiful welt on this. All the hardware, this is removable if I want to take it off. I don't know why I would. It comes with this upper retention strap, belt loop. This thing is a paratrooper style sheath for this, and he is very, very good at this. Now, I typically, if I carry this, because I do carry this when I go up on the mountain, because there are mountain lions and coyotes up there, mainly for the mountain lions. It doesn't sit the way I want when it's strapped in, but it will sit out at an angle if I do it like this and leave it unstrapped, and then I still have a secondary retention. Michael Spangers is probably the best leather worker I've ever seen for a guy that's doing everything by hand. This thing is absolutely insane. And you can smell it and tell how good the leather is. This smells like, I don't know how many of you guys, I grew up on a farm. We had a tack room where saddles and stuff were kept, and the saddles had to get oiled and cleaned and taken care of because we had horses, bridles, saddles, all that stuff, right? That's what it smells like. When you go into a shop, a leather shop, and they're making saddles and things like that. Oh, it smells good. I want that smell in my house. Bark River knives are great. I have a Bark River knife that was given to me as a gift. Oh, I wanted to touch on this. So a bunch of people are calling this a knockoff. This is not a knockoff. So this is the Mac Mark II. So this is a modified style of the original Gerber Mark II. It's been more heavily wasped, but it is very, very similar. And I wanted to touch on this because people are saying, I was like, oh, now you're showing knockoffs on your channel. This is not a knockoff. This is close, but very different. This is their take on it. Would you explain the police if you had that in your pocket? There's no excuse you could, wait. There's no excuse you could come up with other than you were chopping sugarcane. Explain to the police if you had that in your pocket. I don't have to explain shit to the police. Guess what? If I had this in my pocket, I can carry any size fixed blade I want in the city of San Diego. I can carry any. I don't have a link. He is on Instagram. It is spirit_of_the_bear. Or Michael Spangers. I don't have to explain a fucking thing to the police if I have this in my pocket. They're like, what do you got that for? I was like, because I like it. It's all I need to explain to police. I can carry any length folding knife in the city of San Diego anywhere I want. Why do I have to explain shit to the cops? As a matter of fact, I regularly have this on my belt and walk around with it and go places like Walmart with this. This is my Cold Steel R1 Military Classic because I can carry any length fixed blade I want as long as it does not fall into a specific category of dirk or dagger, and it is carried exterior and it's not concealed, which it's very hard to conceal a knife that is the same size and dimensions of a Randall Model 1. Everybody thinks San Diego is this left-wing ludicrous. It's not. It's not. They don't give a shit what I carry as far as pocket knife. I can carry any folding knife of any size I want. And I have been carrying this pretty regularly as recent. I've been to Puerto Rico, Joey, the Roach. I've been to Puerto Rico several times. Most notably, Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico. Rosie Roads. Bark River make incredible knives. I haven't had anybody come in the comment section yet. So how many knives do you own? Yes. I could not put a number on how many knives I own at this point. We'll have to do that. We're going to do a live feed where I have this camera set up at a different angle and we'll just go through everything that's here. This is the Bark River Knives. The Bark River Knives North Country EDC 2. Thing's amazing. Bark River knives are great. I don't like the sheath on it. That's the only thing I would change. The sheath, the retention on the sheath is a little sloppy, and I don't want to carry this horizontal or vertical like this because it doesn't sit the way I want. I want to use these straps and carry it scout carry, but the retention's not great on it. So this may need an upgrade of some sorts. Bark River knives. And their knives, you can get some gorgeous knives from them. This is one of the most striking handles I've ever had on a knife. That is just over the top. Ain't that right, Broccoli Skull? Yep, he agrees. Just absolutely insane over the top. But then you get that Coke bottle contouring on this. Super, super comfortable. Now, I do EDC a fixed blade almost daily. Almost a daily basis, I carry a fixed blade. And I'll show you the one I carry. It's not, I don't have it on me today, but it is, well, it got moved because I was digging through this box. There it is. This is the one I carry every day. It's not near as fancy. It's not near as over the top, but it's probably the most functional knife ever. I just did a community post with a link to Knives Ship Free, my affiliate link with Knives Ship Free. Lon Humphrey has got a lot of models that he just posted new ones. If you haven't, go check out my community post about new knives that are available. Knives Ship Free. I have an affiliate link down below if you're looking for this. This is 100% American made, handmade, and it's probably the best knife, fixed blade knife I've ever owned. Puerto Rico? Yeah, I know the law is a lot different there because it's trash. I'm kidding. That was the Kill Tony joke. There's a lot of places. Like, okay, so San Diego, I can carry this. San Francisco, I can't even carry this. San Diego, San Francisco, and LA. Illegal there, absolutely legal in San Diego. I'm glad everybody did. But all my Puerto Rican friends were like, why is that not funny? He's like, why would I think that's not funny? I was like, I actually talked to my friend Angel and he goes, did you hear the joke he made? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you've been to Puerto Rico? I was like, yeah. He goes, he's right. He's like, that's why I don't live there anymore. Sorry, I was doing the dishes. What do you say your best fixed blade? Best fixed blade I've ever had, like that I personally carry on a daily, is the Lon Humphrey Customs Tucson. And Knives Ship Free is his only vendor. And if you like, go down and you can find Knives Ship Free link down below, an affiliate link down below. Do I look like I'm Mexican? My daughter does, though. We'll talk about that in a second. So when you go through and look, Lon Humphrey Custom has a bunch of new models on Knives Ship Free. I have an affiliate link down there, and I did a community post where I was like, this thing is just incredible. This was a gift from Zachary Schmidt, one of the subscribers. He sent me several knives. Matter of fact, he's the one that sent me the Bark River knives. This thing's just amazing. So Rosie Roads has been closed a long time. Yeah, I'm old, bro. I'm old. We're talking like early 90s, late 90s, mid 90s. I was there, Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico. I almost had orders to Roosevelt Roads, to Rosie Roads. Let's see some more big folders that are affordable. That's, I mean, pretty much any of the cold steel folders. This is another great cold steel. This is the Voyager. That's a good looking knife. I spent 8 months in Cali, would flip battle songs in the park, no problem. People are out here in California are not near as bad. Yeah, they still make them. And like I said, find my affiliate link down in the description of this video. You'll find things where it's like it shows it will be, this is the Tucson. There's a link down below where it says knives ship free, and then you'll see a link. If you click on that, it'll take you to the website, and then you just type in Lon Humphrey Customs or Lon Humphrey. Humphrey. So this thing's amazing. It's just about the perfect size. What is my rarest knife? I have two. I have two super rare knives. I will show you. I have two super rare knives. I have a fully hand-carved Master Blaster that Elliott Williamson made. This is about a $1,600 knife. Hand-carved titanium copper inlay. That is a super rare knife. And then this was a gift from Elijah Isham. This is a Matt Diskin custom, full custom made, mirror polished Revolution. And this is the one that has a hidden, so you can open it like a regular non-spring knife, and it has a hidden mechanism that makes it a switchblade. That's the mechanism. That's a pretty rare knife. Not only is it rare because there were not a lot of these made, this was also a gift from Elijah Isham. And if you guys know Elijah Isham, knife designer, great dude. He was a really good friend of mine and passed away. And he gave this to me, and he was supposed to come out so we could do a lot of filming and stuff. But this is a very, very well done, beautifully made knife. It's got some fingerprints on it. Mirror polish. That never goes in my pocket. This is the only knife that I truly can say is a safe queen. When I go on a trip, if I don't take my case, this gets locked in my gun safe. I have a couple knives that are pretty expensive. This one, it's not just that it's expensive. It's not just that it's like $1,000 knife or like a $1,600 knife. It's the fact that this was a gift from someone that I really, really loved like a brother. And I miss him every day. And I have this, and it gets locked away when I go anywhere. If we're all going on a family trip, this gets locked in the safe with like everything else. I have several safes in the house. They're all attached to concrete and all that shit. It either goes in my gun safe that you're not going to move, or it's going to go inside my safes that are like bolted down. So those are both fairly rare. And like I said, the reason that this one is rare is because it's one of a kind. You're never going to find that knife. It's not like that knife was ever done in that configuration. Knife cases under the workbench. So let's see. Yeah. I love how over the top, hang on a second, I got stuff in my pocket that I needed to put away. I love how over the top this is. But I love how over the top it is, but still this one's not as usable as the other one. The Migron Valona is a great knife. I say that is my pick for the best budget knife you can get. That is the GOAT. Like when you look at best budget knife, bang for your buck, you're getting really good knife, really well designed, comfortable in hand, and everything. And it's just, it winds up being just about perfect, you know? As a budget knife, it winds up just being about perfect. If you guys don't know the knife I'm referring to, I've got it right here. This was Jared over at Knives Knives gave me this one as a gift. The Migron Knives Valona. Under $100. And not only is it beautiful, it is super comfortable in hand, great blade shape, nice behind the edge thickness, gorgeous look on it, nice materials, and you're just not going to find a budget knife that is better than this when it comes down to it. I haven't carried this in a while. Now I want to put it in my pocket. It's going in my pocket. You're going in my pocket. Right there. Great, great pocket clip. So Migron Valona, one of the best knives. You can find it with my Amazon link down below, the Migron Valona. Is that XXX? No, this is just the XL. It has this is the large, which is 12 1/4. And then this is the XL, which is the 16 3/4. 12 inch, 12 1/4, 16 3/4. It makes this look like a normal size knife. Have I ever, I have a bunch of I've had a bunch of the Two Sons. There's been a lot of Two Sons knives on my channel. Problem I have with Two Sons knives is it's hard to find them when they're in stock. I believe that you're right about the length on the XL because it's 7.5, and the large is 5.5. You're right. 12 1/4, 16 3/4. So yeah, it's fucking nuts. Kind of like a 200. No, it's not a two-handed knife. It has multiple grips so that you can get more leverage. It's not like a two-handed because it's awkward. It's awkward because the blade's not long enough for it to be two-handed, like you would have on a sword where you have more length where you're able to get that point out there. No, it's simply multiple grips to find what point you want to use it so you can get a little bit more chopping force. Or if you're Lynn Thompson and you're carrying this for self-defense purposes, you've got a little bit more extension and distance from your attacker or opponent. This is not something I recommend for self-defense. It's not. It's too it's too slow to, it's not slow to deploy. It's awkward to deploy. It comes out of pocket with the wave feature. And so it's not something you're going to readily be able to use. I do have a tendency to find it. This one, probably more likely to be able to use this as a self-defense tool because it's a little bit, but for me, a good self-defense tool is a Pikal, a folding Pikal, or this, something that's easy to use, a little bit more nimble. You don't have to have a big knife for that. So, guys, I don't feel we're good all of a sudden. We got like 6 minutes left. I'm not going to run this any longer than I typically do. Like sometimes we run long. I agree on that. The no love for push daggers. I find push daggers to be silly. I have, like, the only push dagger I have that like I ever carry. How did that even happen? It hangs up here and I'll grab it every once in a while. Like if I want to have something somewhere where I really am not going to be carrying any other knives, like little less conspicuous. This is all you really need for self-defense here, and people are going to argue. This I get, but a full-size push dagger, like I have one, I have a couple. This is as effective as you need. This is as much as you need for self-defense. If someone's on you, I guarantee I can do a lot of damage with this. That if I want like as a neck knife, this is really good. This is the Mini Pal. It's a great little strictly self-defense tool. My daughter has one as well. My daughter actually now carries, the Matriarch 2 that I got for my wife. She carries it to school, always has it. Yeah, it's a get away from me in a hurry knife. If I want an actual self-defense knife, this is what's going to go in my pocket. This is Bicol, goes in your pocket, it comes out this way. So just like that cold steel, let me see, if you come out here, tip you down, maybe we can get a better view on it. It rides in your pocket like this, waves off. It's a Bicol, so the edge is on the inward side. So you're in close. Instead of extending yourself out and keeping yourself from being brought out further, because it's much easier to go this way where you're in close and you're locked in. It's easier than trying to extend yourself out. There's less chance of getting captured and things if you're on the inward draw than on the outside, like you would get with a karambit. I know people like karambits. I find these to be a little bit more intuitive. It's more intuitive. It's that, like, if somebody's on you, you're probably going to hit them with like hammer fists anyway. Instead of trying to go like this, you get more power that way. So you've just added, it's a force multiplier. I've got this and I drag back. Devastating. So this is what I would put in my pocket. If I call this my SNK, my shitty neighborhood knife. Cold steel taipan. I just showed one a little bit ago, crab with a knife. It's probably the best fighting knife out there. It's balanced perfectly for that, but that makes sense because Lynn Thompson studied knife fighting, and that is a knife that was designed for that. I find balance and nimbleness of a knife to be, for me, having taken martial arts, not necessarily strictly knife fighting, controllability, nimbleness, and balance to be, for me, more important than blade length and things like that, which is why I like this a lot. This is really well balanced. The balance on this is really good. Cold steel taipan, beautiful balance, easy to recover from a cut, and you can cut going both ways. This, super nimble for a 12-inch knife. Never would have thought it. So, do you have a Randall knife? I don't have a Randall knife, but I have the Cold Steel R1 Military Classic, which was a licensed design. We took knife training. Not necessarily everybody did, but like I deployed several times to combat, so you were given some training. I took martial arts, so we did learn edged weapons. This is a licensed replica of the R1 Military. This is the R1 Military Classic, which is a licensed replica of the Randall Model 1 this was done by Cold Steel. They had permission from Randall made knives to make their own duplicate version. For all intents and purposes, it's the same knife. I actually, second one of these I've ever owned. This thing's beautiful. I lost the first one I had. So, but speaking of like being able to have a knife that's easy to use and is nimble and things like that, this would be what I would, if you want a good self-defense knife, go over to TKL Knives and get this. This is the Night Guard. Tell him I sent you. Tell him I sent him an email like, hey, one of the Night Guard 2.0 is coming out again. This was a gift. Absolutely love it. It is super nimble. It's beautifully balanced. It's just got the right grip on it. It's really good for self-defense in a pinch, but it's also a good day-to-day knife. Compared to other knives and the quality you get for this, Dean, I'm going to tell you, it's not that out of the realm. These are not that expensive when you look at how, basically this is a custom knife, right? It's basically a custom knife. Hey, what's up, Brant? What's going on, buddy? Yeah, balance is... How long did your night... I don't know. I didn't order it. It was a gift. So they're not handmade. They're custom. There's a difference. Like, they're not handmade. They are CNC milled. So compared to any, okay, you show me a Benchmade that's as good as this at this price. USA made, small batch, made to order, and you show me a Benchmade that's American made, it's not a piece of trash. I'm going to argue with you on that all day, Todd, that this is a better deal, hands down, than any Benchmade you're ever going to find. American made, made to order, small batch, you pick your options of how you want that knife made. There's no comparison. There's no comparison to this or any other. The only other company that's making knives that are as good that are American made is Spyderco, and they're still not as good as this. That sheath is completely rattle free. It has the perfect retention, perfect carry. The hardware that they use for everything about it is just about perfect. This is why this was my fixed blade knife of the year. I got a lot of fixed blades in this year. There was a lot of knives that I did reviews on for fixed blades. I thought it was only fair to go through the list and figure out what my fixed blade knife of the year would be, and it is the TKL. This is the TKL Knives Night Guard 2.0. So this thing is, it's a Wharncliffe. It's nice thick blade stock, but not too thick behind the edge. Came as sharp as definitely. These are under $300. I don't know what you're talking about. Todd, these are under $300. That's less than I paid for this. This knife was less than I paid for this. This pretty much custom was cheaper than a production-made Balisong. Or a production, not Balisong, custom-made Microtech. No, I do not have Balisongs. So, like, I just don't understand where that's coming from. I don't understand where that's coming from, considering a comparable knife like this from a lot of other companies would be well over $300. You're paying under $300. You're getting small batch. You're getting custom heat treat. You're getting custom machining. And you're getting under $300. There's no other American-made brand that's doing that. Hell, I paid more. I paid almost as much for this knife than you would pay for this, as you would pay. I'm not saying price point. I'm saying he's doing it more affordably than any other American maker. Because this knife, at that custom price, at that custom point, is about the same price as this production Spyderco. There's just no comparison. There really isn't. There's just no comparison. And I'm not seeing your price point argument, because you see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see the argument there. It's just, well, I like this and that, and I'm like, no. I mean, find me a good Benchmade. Find me a good Benchmade, and I'll probably fucking give you $10, because there just aren't any. But find me a Benchmade that is under $300 that is of even comparable quality. And I'm talking their fixed blades too. They're horrible. The only selling point for Benchmade is they're American made. If you're making American made and making it good, like, Benchmade's making American made, but they're not making it good. I have yet to have a good Benchmade come across my workbench, which is why you don't see Benchmades on my channel. The Benchmade Crooked River was a good knife. It really was. This looks just like the Benchmade Crooked River, and guess what? It's a quarter of the price, and it's as good quality. It is. Now, it's in D2 steel, and it has a few sharpening issues, but this is every bit as good. Crooked River is a decent Benchmade. It's not a good Benchmade. The Crooked River was the first Benchmade I've seen in a lot of years that I would buy. The Anthem was a good Benchmade. But it was also $600-something unless you were military or law enforcement, and then it was $400. And even at $400, it wasn't anything good. Yeah, Hogue is better than Benchmade. Same lock that they had on the Anthem, basically reworked, that makes this the best Axis style lock on the market, and it's still cheaper and American made than the Benchmade Anthem. And plus, this is just a good knife. This is in the same realm. This is still more expensive than this. So at any rate, guys, I know that there's 129 of you guys here. Usually I would not end a live feed with this many people here, but I got shit I got to do that doesn't involve y'all. I mean, it does. I haven't even put my green screen up yet for the week. I have some filming I need to do. I got to take the wife's car to the shop. I got to figure out like how we're going to have 3 people on varying schedules using 1 car. I really don't know how I'm going to do that, but I probably will do a live feed tomorrow. So, Jesus, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm just going to be driving everybody around for a few days, I guess. And if I start the new job this week or next week or however long it takes for the car to get out of the shop, it's really going to suck, especially if I'm working a shift that is not compatible. So, guys, I love y'all. Check out all the videos. Check out all the affiliate links down below. Take that link to my Amazon store, pin it to your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping so that they have to pay me a little bit of money. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout. Coffee Brown Coffee Tempered Trailer down below. Those links are 10% off. And I have a coupon code of Crazy Sharp that works at a lot of vendors. Just type it in, Crazy Sharp, all one word. Crazy Sharp, not shark, sharp. And I will see you guys probably tomorrow. I'll think of something to talk about or rant about, or maybe we'll just start a live feed and fuck with all the trolls. So I love you guys. Take it easy. I'll see you next time. Where's the button?